Hey, did y'all know that you can bet on anything in Las Vegas?
There's no rules?
There's absolutely anything you can bet on in Las Vegas. You can call somebody up and make a bet.
I would imagine, of all places, Las Vegas. That sounds about right.
Stoney, did you make a bet?
Uh-oh.
Well, actually, I found out that there was a running bet on whether I was going to do a soft topic today or not. And the bookies actually gave it 100-1 odds that I was going to do a soft topic today.
Okay.
So that means basically if I did a soft topic and you bet $1, you'd have won 100.
Okay. Good thing I'm not a betting man.
Now you get to find out if you won or lost money.
Okay, here we go.
I'm looking forward to this.
Congress isn't broken. It's misaligned. What does that really mean? It means the people we elect, the voices we trust to make decisions for our nation, are no longer working in step with the values, priorities, and realities of the citizens they represent. When I was young, being a rebel meant marching for civil rights, challenging the establishment, and often standing as a liberal Democrat. Today, being a rebel means standing up for the conservative principles in a world that tells you that's radical. The misalignment doesn't stop there. Our government now has the legal authority to deliver messaging, including propaganda, to U.S. citizens, messages intended initially for foreign audiences. Due to changes in laws such as the Smith-Mundt Act, meanwhile, Congress is burdened with multi-issue bills that are difficult to understand, perks and pay that are disconnected from the average American, and lobbying influence that distorts priorities away from the people. In this episode, we're cutting through the noise. We're exploring why term limits, pay tied to constituents, remote accountability, single-issue legislation, truthful public statements, and transparency around lobbying aren't just reforms. They're fixes that realign Congress with the country it serves. This is about truth, accountability, reclaiming government for the people. You're going to hear perspectives from boomers, Gen X, and millennials because the story of misalignment affects every generation. If you care for our future as a constitutional republic, this episode is mandatory listening. Stay with us. This conversation is not just timely, it's essential.
Welcome to the Retrospect podcast, a show where people come together from different walks of life and discuss a topic from their generation's perspective. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm joined by Jason.
Hello, everyone.
And Stoney.
Hello.
Oh, man.
So did anybody make a bet? Did anybody win or lose any money, or was that just new information for everybody?
I think I lost my bet.
Uh-oh, really? Okay. I didn't bet on anything specific, but if I had to wager, I was going to say it's going to be some sort of heavy political topic, I think.
Okay, see, you'd have won.
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
You'd have won.
So I may have
just
got
think
a little
about that.
bit.
If you'd have bet $1,000 in Vegas,
Yeah.
you'd have won 100-1.
That's okay. I'm not a betting man.
No.
Man, I could have got some new studio equipment.
That actually been the other way. You'd have lost your money.
That's
so.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hey, that's okay. So as people have probably been following along with us for the past 2 episodes, we've kind of been returning back to form a little bit, like we did once upon a time in the early days of this podcast, where one person comes to the table with a topic and the other 2 don't know what the topic is. And Jason has had his turn, I've had mine, and now it is Stoney's turn.
Now it's my turn.
And here we are.
So I have 6 rules.
Okay.
To fix Congress.
All right.
Number 1, 2 term limits, just like the president.
Right.
What do y'all think about that?
Well,
I
go back and forth with term limits simply because at the state level, they've tried this. And
But we're not talking about state level.
I know, but I mean, the principle still is the same. these guys, they basically leave the House and then they go run in the Senate. And there's all these brother-in-law deals that are cut on the political level about, lining you up to run for this and run for that. In principle, I would agree with you. I do believe that there is a we've kind of lost the original intent of being the citizen, kind of civil servant. You go back to those, the earliest times of the country, and the idea of making Congress a career, that's more of a modern thing.
The founding fathers never intended for you to be a career politician.
Right.
You were supposed to come, represent your people, and then go back to work and bring somebody else in with fresh ideas. And that's the intent of a 2-term limit, is to limit career politicians and encourage fresh perspectives within the Constitution. You can't have a fresh perspective that wants to change the Constitution.
But this is the only issue that I think why I think the paradigm is so. It's kind of we're out of kilter, and I think that we're not as a homogenous society that we once were. I think in our early part of the country, and I've gotten into various, arguments, for lack of a better term, arguments, but more discussions,
heated debates
online with these type of issues of, why can't we seem to make things work? And I just think, unfortunately, we're not the country that we used to be. I think.
May I say, because of the career politicians?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think career politicians, because society, and I would think that's more of a product of a post-World War II world that came out. In essence,
basically when the military-industrial complex took over.
The United States, became kind of the top dog.
Mm-hmm.
I think just things got set in motion. And we are what we are now, and we are different. I mean, the country is different now, and part of that is the makeup of the United States now. It's if you want to go back to the original 13 colonies, or how far you want to go back. If you want to go back to prior to the Civil War or whatever the case may be, it was primarily dominated by generally the WASP contingent, in essence, which ran the United States. So it was white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant, and preferably male. Mm-hmm. That was your power brokers. Okay, that's changed. That's no longer the dominant paradigm that exists in the United States anymore. There's a lot of different ethnic groups now, and they bring in their ideas, and I just think that we have too much change right now. So we don't have a bunch of people going to Congress that are really on the same page. Yeah. They're on completely different worlds, a lot of them. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like one's from Mars and one's from like Jupiter or something. I mean, that's how far the divide is.
But you see, breaking the Constitution and bringing in things aside from the Constitution is why we are like that. Okay, so when the Obama administration brings in 80,000 Somali refugees, puts them in one area, gives them the ability to vote, now you get somebody like Ilar Oman in office. That's the voice you're talking about. If you're talking about normal Americans, regardless of color, regardless of sex, they want the same things. They want crime to go down. They want to be safe. They want health care that they can afford, to where a major medical crisis does not bankrupt the citizen. Okay? See, those people want the same. It's when you bring these other people in, and we'll get to that in a minute also. Mm-hmm. So what is the constitutional reality of a term limit? What would have to happen? Is it constitutional to impose term limits.
Well, I believe the Supreme Court has ruled on that.
Yes, it would take a constitutional amendment, Article 5.
Right.
It can be done, but then again, you're asking the people that vote on that to vote themselves into term limits.
Mm-hmm.
And so
that would never
what we would
fly.
have to do then is we would have to create a voluntary way for these people. We'd have to have the vote and then create a way for them to exit out.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some type of incentives, which I'm completely against, but you'd have to have some type of incentives. I don't believe that they should make $1 outside of service, but to get some of these people out, we might have to do that. And we'd have to maintain the Article 5 amendment campaign to codify the limits officially. All right.
I just have a hard time believing that would ever fly. That would ever allow that. That's the hard part. I'm
I agree
with it, but I just don't.
But we, the people,
you're right.
can demand it. And it's time we started demanding these things.
I mean, when was the last time that actually a constitutional amendment was in essence, this is what to me is so frustrating, and I think what causes a lot of strife in our society is we attempt to basically settle law not the way the founders intended for our government for that to work. When was the last time we attempted to actually amend the Constitution?
At least from what I'm seeing here, it says.
When was the last time that was
May of
done?
1992. Amendment is the 27th Amendment, which was ratified in May 7th of 1992. The amendment prevents any law increasing or decreasing the salaries of members of Congress from taking effect until after the next election of representatives.
That was an actual
had occurred.
constitutional
yes, we will
amendment.
be getting into that one soon. We will get into that next. Hold those thoughts there.
That's what Google says. I'm not the 27th Amendment.
Because I don't remember that 92 actually going through the entire 2/3 of the states, and I think that was an attempt. I don't know if it
Article 1,
was
section, and then we're going to go into that next
Okay.
because congressional pay tied to median state income is the next rule to reform Congress. So we will finish this one up, and then please, I want to go back to that one, Ian, because that I'm loving you say that because that's coming.
Isn't it crazy that just before we continue on, it says the amendment was first proposed by James Madison in 1789, and it was left dormant for centuries until it was revived and ratified in early 1990s. That's crazy.
But remember, J.D. Rockefeller started the federal school system, and it took till Nixon to get that going right. So the bureaucracy is, the only thing that saves us from the evilness of our government.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's so much of our. That's what I'm saying. There's so much issues in our society today that they attempt to use the courts, to set precedent, to do all these things, which I believe that the use of the courts is not what the founders envisioned of how our democracy or our Constitution was supposed to work.
They can say we're not a democracy. We need to stop calling it a democracy.
Well, but we have democratic principles.
We have democratic principles
the
because
idea that people go and vote, though. The point though is what I'm trying to say is we were meant to have our government operate with the intent of doing it through the amendment process. So if we feel like, just for example, name any hot button issue.
Right.
Name any hot button issue, abortion, or whatever the case may be, you just write it on a piece of paper. If you really want to settle this, then you go through the amendment process. If you want to enshrine that into the U.S. Constitution, then go through the amendment process. If you can get 2/3 of the states to pass it and go through that, it becomes added to the Constitution. Okay, then that's just the will of the people. That's just the way it works. But we don't do it that way. We through courts. We try to do things through statute.
But that's not what the court system is for. The court is to ensure the Constitution is followed. That's what every bit of the court system is for. It's not for that. It's not for setting that type of precedent. It's not for restricting what the executive can do.
Well, no, I agree. I think there's just way too much. I think right now we've been seeing that since Trump got elected with, every little federal judge. They're finding a federal judge that dislikes Trump and get him to basically block everything he's trying to do. And luckily, the Supreme Court has basically come in.
Oh, they're still trying it. There was another one today.
I saw
the minute they do that, they need to be removed from office. That is what the Supreme Court needs to do. Right there, they do it. They're out of bounds. Bye.
I think that the district courts need to. I think that the way the judicial system works at the federal level, I think. Anything the president chooses to do, the only person that can countermand the president would be the Supreme Court, and not an appeals court or, God forbid, a district court,
right?
Judge. I just think that's way, in essence,
it's
you're
overreach.
you're having an unelected person who's a lifetime appointment, basically countermanding what the people elected the president to do.
Exactly.
I think there's issues with that, and I don't know what the fix is with that because it doesn't seem to be stopping. And I just saw the latest thing with the judge had blocked Trump utilizing the National Guard in Oregon. Meanwhile,
it's not called the State Guard. It's called the National Guard,
right.
And I'll leave it right there.
Right. But once again, it wasn't always the National Guard. It was the State Guard at one time. It was changed during Eisenhower during the civil rights, with specifically what happened in Little Rock, Arkansas. If you recall the time, if anybody remembers that, when the Supreme Court ruled in Brown versus Board of Education, which basically ended segregation in public schools. What happened was Orville Faubus, the governor of Arkansas at the time, basically was saying, hell no.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. And he activated the National Guard. Well, in essence, it was the Arkansas State Guard. So what happened, Eisenhower then did an unprecedented thing. He federalized it.
Oh, gosh.
So what happens is now instead of the commander reporting to the governor, he's now reporting to the president.
Yeah.
So that's where the change occurred. Was it was because of the issues down in the South at the time. So, but yes, I mean, it is now the National Guard, and the president can activate that, in essence, federalize them, and then they report to the president. That's how it works now. And unfortunately, it's being now utilized, and it's just such a screwed up thing, the way we've got how things are just happening today, that you've got lawlessness and everything going on in Portland, Oregon, and crime's out of control.
I'm glad you said that. 44 years ago, Portland, Oregon passed a bill in their council that allowed for mail-in votes. Hasn't been a Republican mayor of Portland in 40 years.
Well,
Gee, are we just figuring this one out? All right, let's stay on track here. Number 2, congressional pay tied to median state income. Okay, that means you represent the people and you feel like the people, so you can represent them, right? The intent is to align member incentives with constituents and remove elite perks. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Now, what you said earlier, constitutional reality. Article 1, Section 6 prevents pay reduction midterm. You can't reduce their pay in the middle of the term.
Increasing or decreasing.
Unless they vote themselves a raise, which we're going to get into in a few minutes, because that is one of the rules, one of the things they're trying to put on this what's the word I'm looking for? This This continuing resolution proposal to put the government back working again. Yeah. What do you think about that one?
Well, I was kind of doing some reading on what's going on with the. I listened to some news channels and some news clips of Speaker Mike Johnson getting in front of everybody talking about what's going on with that. Mm-hmm. Really, the heart of this issue is the tax credits associated with the Affordable Care Act.
No, that's something else. Stay on the congressional pay tied to the median state income. We're going to get to that other whole thing in just a few minutes, please. I got 6 things we got to get through on this one. What do you think about tying the median pay to the representatives?
It's currently not that way.
No.
Okay.
They make a flat 178.
Yeah, it's I'd have to look it up.
$178,000
I'd have to look it up now.
Plus all the perks.
Mm-hmm, right.
I mean, at one time we didn't elect senators. One time they were actually appointed. States actually appointed senators. So, do I think their pay should be tied to the median income of the state they represent? Is that in essence what you're saying?
Yeah. Yes.
I think that's probably a good idea. Now, the argument could be made that they're not only they're a senator from a specific state, but then all of a sudden they become a senator of the United States, and they're acting upon and dealing with issues that extend oftentimes beyond what their state they represent.
Right.
I mean, they ratify treaties. The Senate does that. So, I mean,
that's just part of the job. We all do things in our job.
I get it. I understand what you're saying. That's part of the job. I'm not necessarily.
I think it would be heavily.
I think, unfortunately, I think ultimately you're never going to get away from generally people that are running for office. Are you going to basically make people who are already kind of rich? They're the only ones going to be able to run because, right. I mean, the reality is there's some of these states that, I mean, you tie their median income to, that's what they're going to make. I don't know who you're going to get to elect.
That was what I was saying.
I think there's pitfalls to it. I agree with it in principle. I think it ties it to the state that you're in, but
members should also forfeit post-service benefits, including pensions, and maintain their own health coverage, just like regular citizens. When the day you get elected to Congress, you make a lifetime that you get paid for the rest of your life.
Yeah, you get the congressional plan.
And you're on their health care system, period.
I think I don't know if you have to be there for X amount of years.
I don't think
to
so.
Qualify.
I think the first time you get it,
somehow I thought it was 10 years, but maybe I may be wrong on that. I thought maybe look that up, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I as I said, I think it's good in principle. How that would play out in kind of rubber meets the road.
And in this comes in that they cannot, nor their family, trade in stocks.
Yeah, see, that's the biggie. Matter of fact, I just saw a news release that I don't know if y'all saw that with the Cleo Fields. Now has been accused of insider trading prior to the right before the Oracle.
Mm-hmm.
He bought like $200,000 worth of stock right before that was announced, and it's like, how does that happen? Sort of like what happened with Nancy Pelosi.
Well, think about it like Ilar Oman. This woman, the day she took office, was $50,000 to $75,000 in debt and did not have a place to live or a car. Now she has a multi-million-dollar mansion and is worth over $35 million. Please tell me how she did that. Insider trading.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, that's what
Nancy Pelosi made the big statement. Oh, I don't see why that's illegal. Everybody does it. Why can't we do it? Because you're the one making decisions for this country and profiting off of those decisions.
Of course they are. Of course they are. Matter of fact, that's what drives a lot of their votes on some of these, on some of these endeavors. That's why I do believe that's why so much money going overseas, because that's where they're making their money right now. It's overseas. They're not making it here.
It comes back to us.
We like to think that we don't have royalty in this country. Like we don't have like a king and all that kind of stuff that we like.
Yeah, we have
like nobility, like back once upon a time in the Victorian age, you had the lower class people and you had the nobility,
the Gilded Age.
Yeah, it's like you had all this stuff, and I feel like for me, I like to think that we don't have that, and then you have discussions like this where you have people that are so far removed from humanity that will make all these decisions and make all these money moves and make all these votes on things, and they don't care about the. They don't care about regular people.
Look, at the end of the day, I think,
they got their end. That's all
I believe there is a contingent of people in Congress that I think are probably there for the right reason. I think they try to work within a system that requires you to compromise on things that you normally would not do. And unfortunately, then that's used against you. It's just, I just think the system is set up that way. You stay in line, you'll get your stuff to bring back to your state. And guess what? People back home, all they concerned about, hey, did you get funding for a hospital or or interstate project or whatever? That's all they care about. I hate to say it, the blame really falls on us.
Yes,
because we don't demand that kind of politician anymore because we're not that way anymore. Mm-hmm. We just aren't. I mean, it sounds very cruel, and it's kind of an unkind statement to say about the public. But people blame politicians for a whole host of issues, and I'm not saying that they don't do their share of screwing up, but it's us. Mm-hmm. We are divided. We are factionalized. There's no common endeavor that we all look toward to say, this is what we're going to do. There's no concept of that anymore. So the politicians are just extensions of our own personal squabbles that we have.
No. I don't believe that.
I
got to disagree with you on that.
I do.
I got to disagree with you on that one. Just because we're complacent on things, if there are true leaders or representatives, they can do a better job. Okay, we elect the same stupid people in office.
Right.
Over and over and over again.
Exactly. So what does that say about us?
It's up to us. We can change that, but they aren't an extension of that. They're being put there and taking advantage. There's a lot of them that started off right and got in and saw the money.
Are you dreaming of a Hawaii vacation but not sure where to start? Well, Hawaii's Best helps you plan an unforgettable trip with real travel tips, local insights, and responsible ways to experience the islands. From Maui to Kauai to the Big Island to Oahu, every episode gives you practical advice and tips to help you travel with aloha. You can listen to Hawaii's Best on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Well, I think it still goes back to my point. That's what I'm saying. We elect them. So, but that's what I'm saying. There's no overwhelming surge of saying, I really want something different and really hold these people accountable. We really don't do it. We say a lot of bombastic language. Mm-hmm. We get online. We say a bunch of things. But at the end of the day,
I think
if you don't like what somebody does, are you going to lead the petition drive to go and try to recall them? Most people, I don't have time for all that. Mm-hmm. You don't.
But
so we just roll with it.
I think there's a lot of people that, if given that position, they would take advantage of it, just like the people that are currently in that position.
Of course.
I think that's also a thing. People can sit here and say, "Oh, I would never," this shouldn't happen. This is not fair. This is whatever. But
did say it until they got in that position, huh?
100%.
Yeah.
Any average person that probably lives in this area, if given the opportunity, would probably take advantage of that situation and make as much money as they can for them and their family.
Exactly.
And when everyone starts getting pissed off at them, they'd probably be like,
and they wonder why the system is plagued with the problems that it has. And that's what I'm saying. This is an issue with us as people. What do we really want? What do we really want? And I think it varies.
I'm hoping that today on this episode, we can offer something for the people to get behind and do it. And that's what this is about right now. 6 things that can fix Congress. And if we do those things, if we, the people, demand that excellence, and that's what's going to happen. We're going to have to come together as a people, no matter what our race is, no matter what our sex is, no matter what our religion is, and demand excellence from our representatives, not our leaders. These people have never been our leaders, but our leaders is like them using democracy, okay, because it's easier to say and it's easier for people to understand that you're not our leader, you're a representative, and this is a constitutional republic. It's time to get back to that. So because we're in this section, I'm going to swap 3 and 4 because you said some things. Single issue legislation. No more $1,400 or $1,500 bills with 15 different things hidden, tucked away, buried, language changed. Basically, one idea, one bill, one core issue. That's it. If you want something for your hospital, you present it. If it makes it, great. If it doesn't, no.
I would agree that I think that's needed badly.
And that's for transparency?
I believe there's too many riders on
that
on
way
bills
the normal citizen can clearly understand the legislation,
right,
and then call your representative and say, we like that idea, or we don't. You're our representative. You need to be hearing from us whether we like that, and we want to spend $4.5 million on this transvestite Sesame Street play in Uganda.
right. Yeah.
How about a hard no?
I believe that that's what Doge was trying to do, was to expose where our tax dollars were going to, and unfortunately, I think a lot of people got upset or had the that Elon Musk was going to be cutting all these things, and that wasn't what that whole thing was about. It was basically just exposing where all our tax dollar, because he had no authority to cut anything.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't.
No, but he gave the information to the president, who then cut it.
He's got to give it to Congress and say, are y'all aware of this? And I think a lot of Congress were like, they didn't want to know about that because some of them were complicit in that.
Of course.
Because some of them were making the kickbacks on that money.
Of course they were. Or ideologically, they agreed with what is being done, which is even worse. I can understand more so. I'm a little bit less, or I should say, a little more lenient to people that are doing things simply because they're greedy. Okay, I get that. But when you're ideologically driven to accomplish a goal, I think that's something that's on a different level.
Like
I really do.
Turn America into communism or
exactly.
socialistic government.
That's a whole different philosophical view of the world, and I think that's more dangerous. But yeah.
No, I agree. What do you think? You think we can do that or not, Ian?
It's another situation of like like you'd have to have like some pretty rigid regulations on that sort of stuff that I feel like people would just try to. I feel like a lot of these things are great concepts. I think they could really be done well, but just like with making certain things illegal or prohibition, all these things, like I feel like those kind of people will find a way to game the system, and that's the thing. I'm just making sure, like I agree with. What
it
you're
would
saying,
turn into more of, if you vote for mine, I'll vote for yours. But at least then it would be more transparent.
Right.
Your vote was for this. Well, my vote was for that hidden part over there. I just kind of got to let this other thing go. And right now, the constitutional reality of this one is there's no rule that prohibits multi-issue bills.
Okay.
So all we got to do is put that rule in place. And then there's transparency on what the bill was, what it entailed, and who voted yes and no for it.
Okay.
So if you didn't like what your representative did, you mail them, you email them, or you call them.
Yeah.
And you say, you lost my vote because you voted for that.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? That gives the American public a more controlled knowledge of who's doing what and why.
Yeah.
If you want a bill for $4.5 million to go to Uganda for the Sesame Street transgender play, and you vote yes, your constituents have a voice on whether they like that or not. So even if you got a backdoor deal with somebody else, when you cast that button, They gonna know what you did. And
Well,
why.
that's what I'm saying. But unfortunately, with these bills are hundreds of pages.
Thousands.
You know, it's just
15, 16, 1,700 pages.
It's incredible. It's almost next to impossible for anybody to be able to understand what they're voting for.
Yeah.
Because they really don't. They got
They really
staffers
don't.
that read that stuff, and I don't even know how thorough they look at it because it's just a lot of just legalese that are in these bills. So I, as I'm saying, if you get it down to one item per bill,
That's it.
then that's very, very easy. Then the bills are maybe 20, 25, maybe 30 pages long, and then okay, that's reasonable.
See, I like where you went with that. That leads me to rule number 4. Rule number 4: remote work via secure video. No more traveling. No more spending 3/4 of your time in Washington, D.C. You stay in the state you represent. Reduce cost, keep members closer to constituents, and improve efficiency. Now you got time to look at that bill. Now you got time to look at all of these bills.
Yeah.
Stay where you are. We don't need to be paying all, what did we do? We spent how much money sending 250 legislatures to Israel 2 weeks ago?
Uh-oh.
Why did we do that? These people don't need to be traveling. They need to be staying their asses at home with the people they represent in an office where people can actually engage with them and tell them what they want their representation to be. And you're going to tell me in today's society we can't do secure videoing now?
We can, but no one would allow that. It's a quote-unquote breach of privacy, I would imagine.
On what? On a bill I want to know what's being passed? And
I'm just saying that's what's going to be. You're right, though. You're right, but that's that.
Generally, when it comes to people kind of getting all up in an uproar over a particular bill, it's usually one little part.
Oh yeah,
that's emotionally, or it's a special interest group, and that's unfortunate because as soon as you start giving money, name the group.
yes.
The minute you cut it off, it's the end of the world. It's the end of the world, and that's what's unfortunate. I think what they're uncovering is all these NGOs.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And
absolutely.
what was being done through these NGOs that I think a lot of that would Musk
$10 million
expose.
coming back to what was who's the daughter? Chelsea Clinton's mansion, and $3 million for her wedding.
Yeah, well,
Really? That went through USAID for 2 sub corporations, passed here, and then back to America for her. Really?
Yeah, USAID has now come. It's now been revealed that it's been funding Antifa and some of these other, the Black Lives Matter movement. Definitely,
Soros got $250 million that proved he got it, funneled it through his corporations back to America. That's who was buying the bricks for Antifa and all of the riots.
Yeah.
We paid him as taxpayers. We gave him the money to riot our own country.
That's crazy.
How about this one? Number 5. Tell me what y'all think about this.
Mm-hmm.
Hold members of Congress accountable for lies in public. When they are in Congress, they are under oath 24 hours, 7 days a week. If you make a statement to the people and it's proven to be a lie, you will be, held accountable and possibly even go to jail, but lose your seat.
Well, I guess the question would be, how do you define the lie? I mean, is it...
Yeah.
Can it be interpreted as a different opinion or a different take on something? I can see a room full of lawyers.
Well, you say that.
Well, you say you lied, but did I really lie? I mean, you know how that kind of goes.
Would
you go
even
down
free
that road.
speech come into that? But we need to hold our representatives accountable for what they say. So I'm just throwing that out there. We can get through the minutia or the weeds, another day maybe if the people like this this episode or not. They can tell us, but they need to be held accountable for what they say. Oh, I'm sorry. If I lie to Congress, what happens to my formerly fat ass? My fat ass goes to jail.
Yeah.
So why can't they be held to the same accountability that they would hold me to?
Yeah, matter of fact, I think, I believe, what's his name, got sent to prison because he refused to honor a congressional subpoena, was Steve Bannon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So why can't we? I'm sorry. The Constitution says that they cannot pass a law that separates them from the citizen. They can't pass a law that puts them. They got to be held to the same thing as we do.
Right.
If we can go to jail for lying to Congress, Congress should go to jail for lying to us.
Well, in a perfect world, I would say yes, but I just
No, I agree. But these are some
Was it
things.
a lie, or was it just withholding the truth? Okay,
that's how you define the
Well,
truth.
isn't that a lie?
you're right.
What is the opposite
Well,
of the
I'm
truth?
I was making
a lie.
I was making
I know
a
you
joke,
were. I
but
think
yeah,
it's
yeah,
funny.
yeah.
Well,
But a lawyer can
I'll
sit
be
there
honest
and-
with you. I'm waiting for a moment,
Oh yeah.
like in that show. What was it? What was that show with Jack Nicholson? He was the Marine with Tom Cruise.
You can't handle
You
the
can't
truth.
handle the
Oh,
truth.
yeah.
I truly believe. I'm actually.
I want the truth.
I'm really waiting for that moment when someone in Congress basically has that kind of, to be 100% honest.
It was a few good men, by the way.
There's a few good
Yeah,
men.
you
That's what I
can-
thought.
Yes.
And but just have that kind of moment. No, if I really told you the truth, you're not going to like it.
Yeah.
That's the gist I'm trying to get at here. Do we really want to know the truth?
Hey, I'm saying the truth right now, and y'all aren't liking it very much.
You know,
I'm still saying
Yeah,
the truth
yeah.
right now.
I'm just thinking. No, I agree that I think there's a degree. I think there's an unrealistic view of what can actually be done.
Sure.
I think fundamentally we're at a crisis point. What is going to be handled by the government, or what's going to be handled by the free market? And we have this fight with everything, because this ultimately is this nexus that we're always, there's friction.
Yeah.
And I just think there's just more and more people that it's just easier for the government to give it to me. And why is that? I don't know. I think maybe to a degree that people have lost hope. They don't feel like they can get out there and by the sweat of their own brow actually make a living and support themselves anymore in today's world. I think there's definitely some signs there that are pointing in that direction. I mean, we've all talked about, I believe, the AI with the reduction in jobs that are going to be out there. So how is that going to play out long term? How does that affect the workforce? I mean, right now we're already trying to import our what I call menial labor workforce because either people are getting too old, they can't do those jobs anymore, or nobody wants to do them anymore. And then where are we at with that? How does that play into the whole immigration issue and everything else? I think we're in this kind of, I hate to say it, I'm gonna harken back to a previous episode. I believe we're in our fourth turning. We are.
Okay,
We're in our fourth turning here. I think there's this, either something's going to win, and there's going to be a new paradigm, or something else. And I think right now we're in this kind of this strife to kind of figure out, who are we? What does it mean to be an American in 2025 and America's place in the world? Exercising the leadership that it's had, it's done now since the end of World War II.
But how many times have they said, don't poke the dragon? Americans have proven time and time again what they're capable of. They have to have something to get behind. And the dragon was poked. And now the people are demanding. We, the people, are demanding transparency and accountability.
Yeah, I believe that.
So
definitely.
what's going to happen here? Because the American people, and that's why I've said a number of times, many times on this show and in conversations outside of this show, that's why there's been such a horrible attack on the American family. Because the American family is the strongest, most amazing thing on this planet. And you've poked that dragon.
Well, definitely the family is under attack. Has been under attack now for at least the last, I would venture to say, 25 years.
Oh, more than that.
Well,
It's
really
since 1905 when J.D. Rockefeller started his stuff with Rockefeller and what would go
Vanderbilt, Carnegie.
Yeah,
all the big barons at the time.
Big barons at the time.
The industrial barons. Yeah, I mean,
who basically is now your BlackRock, your State Street, and your Vanguard. And what's that group? Starts with a B. That they meet once a year in secret and wear the secret little hats, and the Brandenburg group, Bilderberg group. It's the same damn people.
Yeah, I mean, it's Council of Foreign Relations. Yeah, I've heard all. Yeah, definitely.
They're the head of the Federal Reserve, which has nothing to do with the federal government whatsoever. It's a private banking system to control the banks and the people.
Right.
And now, oh, wait, did we hear the chairman of BlackRock? Guess what he started last week? He's the new director of what? The World World Economic Forum.
Sounds about right.
So,
because those people get recycled.
That's it.
In those same groups, they get recycled. Those are Ian, you mentioned it. Those are your kings and queens of today.
That's your oligarchies. That's your oligarchy right there.
I was going to say, it feels like even people like the big tech billionaires. It's like you have all this, like there is just this huge gap between average people and these like elites that like they don't.
It's less than 1% on over 99% of them,
and it's all, like I said, it's all like this. Again, if you like, I think it's on the forefront of my mind because I've been reading a lot about it and just been interested in history and kind of looking back into it about like nobility and people in that kind of space, about how it's a lot of the same conversations. Like you help your family out, you have close relations, you got friends, you have to know somebody to get in the group, and then the second you get in the group, it's just the same thing. It's just a different skin. We just call it something different.
Sure.
It's I feel like when you look at like the political sphere, it's all this kind of like, it gets this messy kind of incestuous thing where they're all kind of like patting each other on the backs and all kind of helping each other out. And they don't care about any of us. They say they do because they feel like they have to, but they don't care. They don't. Yeah,
well, I think I listened to it was a podcast, I think today. It was very interesting. It was the person who took over, who got elected in Wyoming, who took over for Liz Cheney.
Mm-hmm.
She gave a very good interview about just kind of some things of how we have. When did we the people abdicate the responsibility of governing themselves, so to speak? And I may be paraphrasing, I may be just trying to get pieces here. But
when they convinced us this was a democracy and there are leaders and not our representatives?
I believe Harriet Hedgeman.
She traced it back to actually when Woodrow Wilson was president. And she was very critical, and some people are very critical of Woodrow Wilson, that he introduced this concept of the academic elites.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've kind of given these people this kind of respect and pedestal that somehow they know what's best for us. And that's kind of what's driven the U.S. now since that time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been very destructive. It really has.
How you can establish something so long ago and then it just veers off.
You'd have to read about Woodrow Wilson and what his views of the U.S. government and all that. He was quite. He'd shock you about Woodrow Wilson. It really would. But yeah, I mean, I just think that we're no longer the country we used to be as a people. We're just not. We don't demand it. As long as I got mine, I'm fine. I mean, people.
But that's the complacency I was talking about
People
earlier.
moan and complain. As long as my representative brings home the bacon, I don't care because I got what I wanted. Mm-hmm. That's just what it is. I mean, even though it may be bad and it may be a waste, but
I still got what I wanted.
I got what I wanted, and I took care of my people. Okay, well, how do you reconcile that?
Is there any one person or group that we can blame for this? Number 6, end lobbying.
Well, I would say lobbyists have way too much info. You got some lobbyists.
In secret deals, no more handshakes in the shadows, and the public deserves to know who's influencing what.
How would they ever do that? That's like trying to close down the black market.
Well, because the fact of the matter is they can make the argument, hey, I represent whatever trade group I represent, if it's, oil or whatever the case may be. You just name the industry. I mean, they'll say we have a right to petition our representatives about the interest.
I'm sorry. Can I go and see my representative? No, I can't. Why should a lobbyist? Oh, that's right, because there's gifts. There's campaign contributions.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Our little governor, he just went through a little something where if it would have been me, I'd have spent 10 years in jail. Oh, he got a little slap on the hand for $900. Okay, with all of his infractions on ethics, he got him a little slap for $900. Had I done it, 10 years in prison.
Right.
Okay.
Because you're not nobility.
Because I'm not nobility. Well, he thinks he wants to be the emperor of Louisiana.
Well, hey.
So he's trying to pull in some more Huey P. Long stuff here. But, so we need to full disclosure of all lobbyist interactions, gifts, campaign contributions, and impose a cooling off period of 10 years. But when leaving Congress before a congressman can become a lobbyist, because that's normal. What happens? You're talking about what was the word? Turning some. I don't remember what it was, but that's what they do. Yeah. They leave Congress and they become a lobbyist because they know these people and know that.
Yeah, they do.
And strict limits on gifts, trips, and favors. And I'm sorry. I'm going to say this, Ian, please do not edit this. I'm calling bullshit. If the IRS can tell that I owe $651.19 damn cents, they can find out what these people got too. Yeah. They can find everything out. And they need to be starting to be held accountable.
Well,
and we need the transparency and the accountability without violating constitutional protections.
I don't know how you get around that. I really don't, because I think it has more to do with the money game now.
It's all the money game. What do we keep saying on this show? Follow the money.
I mean, just look at what this last presidential election. Mm-hmm. Kamala Harris and their campaign went over $1.5 billion. To be elected to a position that pays $400,000 a year.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm saying. It's of course the idealistic side of me, I agree with all those things. The cynical side of me, I don't trust any of it because I don't believe it matters. I think we've kind of crossed a Rubicon. In to some regard, and I don't think you can claw it back. I think there are too many people that expect a lot of things, and you have less people putting money into the pot because you have a sizable portion of the population. And somebody can fact check me on this, but I do remember talking to a state legislator in this state when I was working, the Capitol a lot at the time. And he told me, he said, this state has a lot of indigent people. And indigent people, basically, people can't do anything. Okay, they can't contribute to the economy at all. And some of them can, but they literally have this no skills and they have no ability to actually show up at a job at 8 o'clock and actually work. They just can't do it. And you project that out over the entire United States. We've got now a lot of people who contribute zilch.
Yeah.
They do. They just contribute zilch, and we want more and more. So you have fewer and fewer people putting into the pot, but we want all these things. And I don't know how you get around this fundamental problem we have now. It's, like the big thing right now. It's the whole thing. Well, while the government shut down, it's the arguments over health care and what's the proper, how much money should be dumped into the pot. And I'm not saying I'm against health care. I do believe we have a health care issue in this country that needs to get resolved in some way.
Well, I'll say this on that. I'm against health care for illegal immigrants when we have people in this country that are citizens that don't have that benefit.
Right.
And
I
agree. We're fixing to go into that one too. A little subsection on that. If the government shuts down for more than a week, all the politicians are fired and we hold new elections. They don't get paid.
That'll never happen.
Well, we have to make that happen. Okay? It will never happen as long as they're sitting in power thinking we're their servants.
Well,
we are not their servants. They are our servants. Happened 2 times. Australia 75 and Moldavia 219. Okay? Government shut down. They fired everybody, including the prime minister.
Yeah, obviously y'all can't work. Y'all can't find solutions, so what good are you?
If you can't find solutions, we need to put people in who can do it. Need to do it. Because there are solutions, but you want to keep playing these little games. And I don't know if, I actually read the continuing resolution proposal from the Democrats.
Okay.
For the one they countered?
Yes, what they want. First off, they want $500 million to go to PBS in 3 days. Public broadcasting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how does that align?
Trump cut all that out.
Okay. How does that align with what's going on?
All their propaganda arms.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. I mean,
That's
all of them.
They want $150 million set aside for Congress itself.
For what?
Why? Additional securities for members of Congress, residential security systems, and $10 million in upgrading the security of the state offices.
Okay.
$174,000 in death gratuities for members of Congress that have passed this year for their families. Now here's my favorite. $137 billion to European Bank for Reconstruction and Development.
Okay.
Okay.
For a grand total of, and this is some of the basics. There's more, but that's $1.8 billion right there.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Now, there's some other numbers because they want, I forgot, maybe y'all could look it up, for how much they want for illegal immigrants to have health care and to extend Obamacare. Because doesn't Obamacare stop somewhere here in 2025?
Well, what it is I did a little reading on this, and what it is these health credits that expire at the end of December, and it's part of the Affordable Care Act, and
well, they're insisting on a permanent extension of the Affordable Care Act.
They want it's important to people to get health care, and
$1.5 trillion over a decade.
Yeah, it's about 7% of the U.S. population, but the people who rely on these plans are influential group, includes small business owners, farmers, and ranchers. Now, this I'm reading a deal off of NPR, which I take that with a grain of salt because this is obviously a site that probably it's been kind of proven that they're pretty much on the side of the Democrats. So, but regardless, they've got some stuff here. It says on average we're expecting premium payments by enrollees to increase by 114%. Basically means they're going to have to double their monthly premiums. It says, but unfortunately, by extending the policy, so if in essence, if the subsidies would be extended, they're looking at an increase about $350 billion over 10 years. See, this is where I have a problem with the amount of money going into Ukraine and some of these foreign countries. Is why can't we take care of our own people here? This is what aggravates me more than anything. America first. We get all wrapped up in all these other things. At the heart of that movement is we've got to start taking care of the American people.
But you see, here's the point.
And that's the problem.
If we're a constitutional republic, only the American citizen matters. When you're a democracy, everybody can say, well, we're going to take half of your money and we're going to go send it somewhere else because that's what the mob wants. That's what the mass wants. But in a constitutional republic, your individualism is protected. If you want to go dress as you're a man and you want to dress as a lady, go do it.
Right.
You don't shove it down my throat.
Right.
You can't force me to do anything. I don't even have to participate in your delusions in life. You just go do it. You're protected to do that.
I think
That's what most people don't realize. That's what's so great about a constitutional republic is your life is guaranteed as long as you don't hurt somebody else.
Well,
a democracy can say, we don't like that. You can't do that anymore. Your bicycle is no longer yours.
Well, I'm sorry reading here. It says when the ACA, with the Affordable Care Act, was passed in 2010, that Congress created a sliding scale to give people a break on their premiums based on income. But they say premiums were still too high for a lot of people, and those with incomes above 400% of the federal poverty level had to pay full price, according to Sabrina Corlett. She's the project director at the Center of Health Insurance Reforms at Georgetown University. And she goes on further. So it was a chunk of folks that were still really struggling to afford their premium. So what happens in 2021, Congress stepped in with a lot more federal funding, which made premiums more affordable. So according to her, it was incredibly successful. And I know a lot of people that basically didn't have insurance, and because of that, they were able to get health coverage. I mean, I do know what some of these premiums that people have to pay.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I'm saying the system is broke. And this is where I sometimes veer off my conservative, and generally this is not generally these kind of issues fall within the Democratic side of the political aisle, but and this is where I have crossover. I'm not all monolithic on one side or the other, because there are some things that we need to do. We could afford $350 billion if we were not spending it overseas.
Yes,
that's the problem. Is we're not taking care of our own people here.
I mean, something simple: 75% of the bridges in America should be condemned and rebuilt, but yet we can go build other countries. How about we rebuild our country?
I mean, we're literally paying for schools. It would shock the American citizens if they knew how much money is being spent in that war over there between Russia and Ukraine about what is being funded. It's unbelievable that we can't afford to do stuff here. There's no money to do it. Yeah, there is money.
Yeah, there is.
It's what you want. It's where you want to spend money.
Because there's that money, and it's been proven. And if Putin was smart, he would get out of Ukraine, and he would show how the Biden crime family wasted that money and brought it back to America in kickbacks. Because that's all that is. And he can make Donald Trump strong, which we need a strong Russia strong America and a strong China if they're going to stop this Muslim population and growth from going on. But all he needs to do is prove it, and he could be a hero. Because it's right there. He has the information. Get out. Save face, get out, and prove how that money was negligently, our tax dollars were spent crazily.
Yeah, right now I'm seeing just in premiums they're seeing increases in premiums. So from $800 to $3,000 a month.
That's an exponential amount.
You're looking at a family that
amount.
maybe was paying $800 a month for their health insurance, and that jumps to $3,000.
Jeez, man.
So I mean that's. And look, I'm not saying that. Unfortunately, it's not all clean. You got to be careful how these articles are written, because there's a reason why the Democrats want all this other stuff. If all they wanted was just this, yes, I think they would have a stronger argument.
Yeah.
But they don't. They add in all the other stuff because they got to cater to all the other interest groups that are lined up at the trough.
Yeah.
To get their little shovel full of cash.
Yeah.
That's the issue here. That's why you have to look at these things and not necessarily be beholden to both, because sometimes the truth generally kind of weaves in the middle a little bit. Now, I would agree with the Republicans on this, that they did offer, in this regard, they did offer the Democrats a clean continuing resolution to at least keep the government open for, I think, what is being missed here, to allow the discussion over this very important issue to continue.
Yeah.
What's the problem is the Democrats, and I think this really goes back to politics. This is where I think really was driving this. Poll numbers for the Democrats are terrible right now. Their approval rating is
it's the worst it's ever been.
In a time when, with a sitting Republican president and a sitting Republican administration that in essence is, the Democrats should be riding high right now. Traditionally, the sitting president loses in the midterms. Right now, their numbers, the Democratic numbers are terrible. Matter of fact, Schumer got chewed out by the far left part of his party when he agreed to a compromise in March. People don't have forgotten that. He caught a lot of flack. Matter of fact, AOC had threatened to primary him in the Senate if he didn't fight more. So in essence, I think if left alone, Schumer has voted for these continuing resolutions 3 or 4 times now in a row. It's never been an issue. But because he's threatened, his own party's threatened him to basically fight Trump on everything, he's basically throwing a tantrum. Him and Hakeem Jeffries are throwing a tantrum over this, and they're using this, hoping that it gains some traction to maybe say, because if you look at polling numbers and go, where are Democrats the strongest? Healthcare generally is where they do better than Republicans. In this case, they're not.
But they're drawing the line on health care for illegal immigrants.
That's going
to cost them.
I think when the term illegal immigrants is used, I think the Democrats will turn around and say, well, by law, illegal immigrants can't get Medicare and stuff like that. That's not necessarily all true.
No, that's not true at all. That's why they give them Social Security numbers.
Certain groups claiming asylum or some other category that may be undocumented or not citizens can apply for Medicare.
Yeah, the guy who killed the 3 people in that accident turning the truck in a U-turn,
right.
He had... How did he have a Social Security number? He had a driver's license. It wasn't valid. It said place name here on his driver's license. Okay, where did he get that? Somebody's giving him this, and it comes from these sanctuary cities and places like that. So
interesting.
Yeah, so I just think in this particular case, it of course it's presented as one thing. The reality is there's a lot of nuance behind the scenes on this, but I do believe it was stupid for them to fight the Republicans, because at least if you do the continuing resolution, then you can continue the political debate of how these subsidies, whether they're going to be extended, whether some other form will come in and take its place, because there's a lot of people who have been against the Obamacare. It was a lot of issues with it. Some people like it, some people don't.
Well, basically, do you know what it is? Do you know what Obamacare is? Did you know that the last bill that the Biden crime family was trying to pass was that everyone in America must buy a snowblower?
Yeah, I think you told me about this before.
Did you know that? Everyone in America, and this is where your lobbyists come into play,
Right.
They needed to sell some snowblowers, so they were going to say that everybody in America needed a snowblower. Explain that one to me. Do you need a snowblower? How long you been in Louisiana, Ian? 31 years now? How about you, Jason? How many times have you needed a snowblower?
Once.
Can you even afford a snowblower? Whether you can afford it or not, you had to buy a snowblower.
Well, I haven't got any directives forcing me to buy a snowblower.
Okay, it's a joke.
I know.
But it's the same philosophy
I know.
of Obamacare. Not everyone can afford it, and now it's fixing to quadruple, and people are going to even before. And what did they do? They said, you're going to go to jail. If you don't get Obamacare, you're going to go to jail.
There was a lot of...
Okay, you see what I'm saying? They were going to put good working class Americans in jail, but yet, hey, we're going to give the illegal immigrants free health care. To become a citizen, my beautiful hottie doctor wife spent over $47,000 over 10 years to become a U.S. citizen. Had she known, she could have just said, I want asylum, and got free phone, free health care. They're giving $4,800 stipends every month.
Yeah, well, I think what people saw, I mean, especially during the Biden years, was, all these immigrants coming in, they're putting them up in 5-star hotels, and I mean, it was just crazy about what was the point of all this, and I do
Votes.
believe it is.
Votes.
They were brought here. They were brought here to vote. That's it. Because what's happening is, I believe, especially what I've seen with the stats in Gen Z. I think the Democrats have lost the youth vote, and that's the future.
The last election proved that. How many Gen Z voted for Donald Trump?
Right.
Again, and I'll say this, I sound like a broken record, that's the first generation since George Washington that will not do better than their parents.
Yeah.
And people are tired. We, the people, are tired.
Well, hopefully they'll figure it out. I think ultimately we've got to fundamentally change how we do business. And look, I'm not saying you got to be an isolationist. You got to hide from the rest of the world.
If you follow the Constitution, yes, you're an isolationist.
Well, you are, but the United States is
the UN wouldn't be here.
Well, the United States chose to be this. After World War II, we became the world power. And it was the United States.
They poked the dragon.
We rebuilt Europe with the Marshall Plan. We rebuilt Japan. We have assumed a role that America never was originally envisioned to be.
Exactly.
You get into the Monroe Doctrine, and we stay on our hemisphere, and you stay out of our business, and you would think vice versa. But as we know, the world changed, and unfortunately, we're more integrated now, because now we have weapons that can reach everywhere on the globe and do tremendous damage. So we can't necessarily be isolationists. I would say we need to always, it's how can America benefit from this? That should be the first thing I think. Before I start worrying about how the British people, Germans, Chinese, Africa, whatever you want to name it, it should always be, does this benefit my people here first? And then if somehow we can extend it beyond that, I'm all for it. But we got to take care of this country first. We really do, because we are eventually we're going to get to a point where we're going to be useless.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I worry about our debt. I worry about us losing the holder of the reserve currency. What that would mean. I don't think people are ready for that. I really don't. You think people can't afford stuff now? Let that happen. We're in trouble, and
yes,
we just gotta figure out.
And it's time to take a stand and take our country back. We, the people, need to take our country back.
I would agree.
This country
with you.
started over a 0.5-cent tax on a breakfast beverage, and now look at our taxes. If you can be in two wars at the same time, you're overtaxing your people. And it's time to stop that.
Just unfortunate. I think the only time things really change is when people are oppressed.
Oh yeah.
I don't think we're at a point where I think the changes that Stoney you outlined in your 6 points, that will be addressed when you have to change.
Yes.
And we're at a point where right now
we're at that cusp
where we don't have to change, because until the elites feel pain and lose, that's when you will see a change. Until then, it's going to be all talk.
Yep.
It's going to be showmanship and look at me and pat me on the back. Look at a great job I'm doing. It's never going to change until you do without. Then you change. We're human beings. We gravitate to the easiest path of least resistance. And it applies to everything in life. It's just what it is. No one's going to do the hard thing.
Oh, yeah.
They're not going to do the hard thing. We're always going to take the easy road until we can't take the easy road.
Oh, yeah.
So,
well, I'm interested to hear what everyone has to say about this, because this is definitely a pretty big topic that I feel like there are
Hopefully, we did not disappoint.
There's a non-zero amount of people I feel like in our audience that have some very strong opinions on this.
Well, I think our email will come into play.
Yes.
Get offended together.
Get offended together at gmail.com.
I bet a few people are offended with me today.
Yeah, or you can also, we have comment sections on Spotify and YouTube where you can leave some comments there if you want. Be sure to like and subscribe on all the platforms you listen to, because we really appreciate all that. We have the website, Retrospect Pod. Is that what it is? Retrospectpod.com?
Retrospectpodcast.com.
Retrospectpodcast.com. And until next week, thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.
goodbye, everyone, and God bless.
Congress isn't broken. It's misaligned. Every day that misalignment continues, we see the consequences. Bills stuffed with hidden agendas, taxpayer dollars wasted, and voices ignored. Boomers, Gen X, Millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha. This isn't just politics. This is our lives. We need to remind every so-called representative in Washington, you work for us. You answer to we the people. You answer to the people that voted for you to be in office. You answer to the people who did not vote for you to be in office. And let me pucker your butthole right now. You answer to the people who did not vote because they feel like their vote doesn't count anymore. You don't answer to your lobbyists. You don't answer to your donors, and you don't answer to your own ambition. So we the people, pick up the phone, send the email, show up, make your voice impossible to ignore. We the people expect more, and we will not accept less. The time to act is now. This is Retrospect. Keep looking back so that we all can demand a future that truly represents us. Thanks for joining us today. You're the best. Peace.